imagine, just for the sake of like imagination exercise, imagine we are living in a totally virtual world, let's say with this metaverse uprising and stuff like that. So where we can generate like everything we want. We want to live in the royal palace, bam, and we are living in the royal palace. Maybe it will cost that this skin of royal palace will cost us like 3 cents, right? So, and we're living in the royal palace. Everything we look around, we see like gold, and who wants gold, of course, but yeah, those royalties, everything. So whatever we want. So that's basically what, in my opinion, that's where we're moving in right now.
I like this. I think we'd last 2 weeks before we got bored. I think there has to be a horizon. There has to be a challenge. There has to be. I mean, go back to the ancient stories. There's always a challenge. There's always something. It's almost like in us that we want to prove something or create something or find something or defeat something. So if we had unlimited resources and we could just print off or envision or live in some kind of hologram or in virtual reality, yeah, we get so bored. I think we need some kind of, I think it's part of what makes us creative and beautiful. We need something to challenge us and push us, or we become catatonic. We don't want to go on. But something that's really interesting is that after World War II, countries around the world were trying to get their independence. And one of the ways India, under Gandhi, wanted to get independent was they wanted to undo the Industrial Revolution. And there was a lot of hype about that. Like, why would you undo the Industrial Revolution? Go back to the spinning wheel. That was one of the symbols, was the spinning wheel, to go back to a simpler time before the British, starting with John Loam in 1721, the British started this factory production. And Gandhi in India is saying, let's get rid of it and let's go back to who we were before. And that's a huge statement.
Doesn't it look like some kind of downshifting movement we have today, where people just leave the nicely built careers and go to some remote villages and decide to grow their own crop and live like pre-industrial people? So what are your thoughts on that?
We make fun of them, call them hipsters, but when you go visit places where people have a slower pace of life and they have just a different outlook, it's not always bad. Like, I wonder, if we worked less, would we be less happy? Do we need all those things on our shelves to live the good life? Or is the good life about what you're doing in your day-to-day? One of the things that I have been reminding myself is, it feels almost like I'm working so that I'll have a really good retirement. But am I thinking about, like, right now, what's happening today? Like, am I doing beautiful stuff, or am I just planning everything for some future that I'm not really sure is going to happen? So those people living the simpler life, throwing away the rat race, they might be actually doing it right. I don't know. What do you think?
I'm thinking that, well, from psychological point of view, it's quite explainable why they do that. And I really greet this movement. But there is something on my mind about that it all ends up with the first toothache, basically, because now those like kind of new pre-industrial people should steal something from post-industrial people, which is like dentistry and like this equipment that was possible only because of the Industrial Revolution, and those like micro metal instruments. Otherwise, we would go where? Like to have this.
Yeah, you're right.
So then we should be consistent, right? So we should not only grow our crops, but to make our own clothing and remove our teeth. And it's not that they don't have the right to do so. Of course, they have a right to do so. But I mean, we should understand, but we are still stealing from the results of Industrial Revolution. We still know that just in case something happens, we move to a big city and go to the hospital, or we just buy clothing, or we use automobile.
Yeah, the first house I ever bought was a 1949 Victory home made after World War II. Closet was this wide for my wife and I. And that's because back even less than 100 years ago, it was normal to have one or two items of clothing. Clothing was expensive to produce. It was difficult. But now, as we have factories producing fast fashion, often done in China or in other countries that have been producing fashion for us quickly, we have wardrobes full of clothing, lots of it. And that's because of the Industrial Revolution, but also because of the way we feel about clothing.
So how the world changed because of that?
In medieval times, to make clothing, you had to use a loom, and not a power loom, just a hand loom. So you'd run a thread through, push it up, put the next thread through, push it up, and you have all these other strings going this way, and you make fabric that way. So you're making all these pieces of fabric, and then you have to sew them together to make all the different parts of your outfit. There aren't stores in the mall where you can just buy fast fashion that we have because of industrialization. So Middle Ages, Renaissance, only the rich have more than 2 or 3 outfits. We probably only have 1 or 2 outfits, and they're very simple outfits, not super comfortable. So industrialization has given us a lot. We live like kings, but we work like dogs.
What would the world look like if that revolution hadn't happened?
How many people are on the earth right now? I know what to do. Oh, it's only 8 billion.
Only 8 billion.
What would the world look like if we didn't have the Industrial Revolution? The Industrial Revolution, like the farming revolution, thousands of years before it, what it does is it allows us to have a lot of stuff in an accessible area. So we're working really hard, but we have food production. We have access to food. We then can have more children. We can have more people. And then we mechanize food production. So we're not just working in silk factories. We're not just working in other such factories. We actually do this mechanization and apply it to farming. So now we can produce lots and lots of food, and our population starts to go up. But then we apply that same mechanization to medicine, to healthcare, and our death rates go down. So while our population's going up, our death rates are going down, and you can see it right at the second industrial revolution. Population goes almost straight up, and we've been doing it ever since. It's 8 billion now. It's probably above the absorptive capacity of the planet itself. And it doesn't look like it's diminishing any. It feels like it's going to just keep going up. So the Industrial Revolution, if we didn't have it, our population would have stayed low and stable. You can look at a graph of when the population climbed, it wouldn't have happened. So our population would still be down here and low. I don't know how many of us would be here if it wasn't for the Industrial Revolution, because the population would be so much lower. There'd be fewer people. There'd for sure be less pollution, but there'd be less creation. There'd be less innovation, less inventions. Would we have gone to the moon? No. Would we be at the bottom of the ocean? No. Would the world be cleaner? Yes. So there's so many trade-offs with the Industrial Revolution, but it was going to happen. If it wasn't Britain, it would have been France 50 years later. It's almost like it was bound to happen. We were going to get these machines working. I mean, that's part of the drive of being human, innovating the technology that's around us, playing with it, messing around with objects, seeing what looks better, what works better.
This was Timeline Paradox, and we have amazing ideas on what to do next. We have many ideas on the future episodes on history and how it impacted the way we live today and the way we live tomorrow.
It's really interesting that we're born into this world, we're born into our culture, and we seldom ever think about why or how we got there. We just believe that this is the way things should always be. No, that was a choice. That was something that happened in our past that determined our future.